Number 10. Ava Ayala. From her introduction in the comics, Ava Ayala was pretty much always involved with the Avengers. She possesses the White Tiger amulet, which grants her powers. She enrolled in the Avengers Academy and was later declared an official Avengers member during her time with Luke Cage's Mighty Avengers in Volume 2 of the series named after the team, during the Infinity event. Fun fact, if you exclude Doc Ock's superior Spider-Man, the Mighty Avengers would be considered to be an all-black superhero team. I think that's pretty cool. Number 9. Samuel Guthrie. Young Samuel Guthrie is also known as Nova, though he isn't the first one to take up that mantle. There have actually been many Novas, as Nova is short for Nova Centurion, and Centurion is a rank in the Nova Corps, which is a Xandarian military group who are mostly used in space exploration missions. Sam was the son of Jesse Alexander, who himself was a Nova Centurion. Sam ended up taking up his father's mantle after his father appeared to go missing. Sam would later end up crash landing on Earth and warning the Avengers of the incoming Phoenix Force during the Avengers vs. X-Men event. Siding with Avengers and doing his best to help them in their fight would grant Sam the opportunity to join the team. In Avengers vs. X-Men Volume 1 Issue 12, Thor offered him a membership to the team. While Nova admitted he felt he didn't do much to help, he was honored and accepted, pending his mother's approval of course. Cause you know, Nova's a youngster. He's gotta ask mom. Number 8. Blue Marvel. For those who aren't familiar with Adam Brashear, he is a brilliant engineer and physicist who ended up getting superpowers similar to Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel. He can absorb energy as well, but not quite in the same way. He can only absorb antimatter energy or energy from the negative zone, basically energy not of our world or universe. So he typically does a lot of space fighting as a result, cause it's kinda where he's the most useful. He's also sometimes known for his romantic relationship with Spectrum, aka Monica Rambeau. He wasn't acknowledged as an official member of the Avengers until the self-titled Mighty Avengers series Volume 2 out of 2012. Luke Cage, the team leader, acknowledged him as an Avenger during the Infinity event when he was helping the team. Though we would later find out that Adam had actually been part of a team predating Luke's from the 1970s, also referred to as the Mighty Avengers. But this wouldn't happen till issue 11 of the series, whereas he was welcomed to the team officially in issue 3 in regards to comic book timeline. So it was in the past, but it also happened after. You know, just normal retcons of sprinkling in more flavor. Number 7. Jane Foster. After Thor found he could no longer lift his hammer, Jane began to hear the call from Mjolnir. She had Heimdall take her to it and claim the hammer for herself. She was deemed worthy enough to pick it up and became Thor. Lady Thor, that is. Despite being diagnosed with cancer and finding out that her transformation into Thor wiped away all the progress of her chemo at the time, Jane continued to perform acts of heroism as Thor. Cause she's cool and brave like that. She has joined the Avengers team in a few instances, one being when she joined the Reform team in the all-new, all-different Avengers series. Number 6. Miles Morales. Miles Morales is the Spider-Man of Earth 1610. He was mentored by Peter Parker of Earth 616 and eventually also ended up joining Earth 616 Avengers as well. He joined the team in the all-new, all-different Avengers series. Miles found himself tangled up with Iron Man and Sam Wilson, who was Captain America at the time, and a ragtag crew of heroes in an attempt to take down the Chitauri warlord known as Warbringer. The team wasn't referring to themselves as the Avengers yet, but of course as the series is named, that they would later be referred to as the Avengers. You're Avengers now, whether you like it or not. Number 5. Kamala Khan. I was just going to straight up title her as Miss Marvel cause I mean that's who she is to me now, but Carol Danvers as Miss Marvel was part of the Avengers way before what I would consider new, and I didn't want to cause any unnecessary confusion, so much respect to Kamala as Miss Marvel, but for clarity we're just going to call her by her civilian name here, Kamala Khan. I really love Kamala Khan as an Avenger as well. Kamala also joined up with the Avengers in the all-new, all-different Avengers series, also appearing in issue 1, where we saw Miles and Nova as well. The three heroes would actually later leave the Avengers to start their own superhero team known as the Champions. After helping to take down Warbringer, Stark would offer Kamala a place on the Avengers team, which of course she happily accepted. Number 4. Nadia Van Dyne. Nadia Van Dyne was originally just Nadia. She was the daughter of Hank Pym and his first wife, Maria Travoia. How did she end up with Janet Van Dyne's last name? Well, she asked her if she could use it. She felt she knew and admired Van Dyne more than her parents, whom she really had never known. In fact, Nadia was actually kidnapped at a young age and raised in Russia in the Red Room, where she was trained to become a spy, which is why we hadn't heard of her until much later. She eventually escaped her fate as a Red Room agent and decided to seek out her stepmother Janet and her father's teammates, the Avengers, after learning that her father had been killed in the fight against Ultron. Nadia also took up the codename Wasp. Following the events of Civil War II, she ended up joining the Avenger team herself. Janet and the rest of the team ended up warming to her, and Janet revealed that she actually approved of Nadia adopting her mantle. Aw, cute. Number 3. Dr. Tony Ho. After her father father died saving Tony Stark's life, Tony resented Stark and strived to be better than him. I just realized this will be confusing because both of these people are named Tony. She studied programming and engineering at Caltech and ended up earning 3 doctorates by the age of 20. Her time with the Avengers began on Roberto da Costa aka Sunspot's team of Avengers, AIM. Da Costa changed the acronym to stand for Avengers Idea Mechanics. She has appeared in the New Avengers comics and eventually left AIM to join the US Avengers and ended up taking up the mantle of Iron Patriot. Tony creates her own armored combat suits similar to Iron Man's, which she refers to as rescue armor. She refers to them as rescue armor probably because they're all non-lethal as well. That's kind of her thing. It's all about non-lethal fighting, keeping things safe. Number 2. Ghost Rider. Robbie Reyes is the Ghost Rider we are talking about this time. He was first introduced in the all-new Ghost Rider and is a car mechanic by day who street races at night in an effort to get money to help him and his brother move out of their rough neighborhood. He ends up possessed by the vengeful spirit of his uncle Eli and becomes Ghost Rider. Eventually Robbie joins up with the Avengers. You can see him fight alongside the team in the New Avengers comic series out of 2018 to 2019 Volume 8. At one point he even becomes the heart of an event where he is granted the powers of the other Avengers so that he can eventually go up against and hopefully take on what appears to be the Dark Celestials. Appears to be anyways. I know. What a story, right? He's also just a really sweet older brother. Also, cars. Number 1. Voyager. Vini Gost is the daughter of Grandmaster Endwi Gost. She originally used her powers to infiltrate the Avengers, inserting herself into their memories to make them believe she was a long-lost founding member of the team known as Valerie Vector. Voyager did that for her dad, Endwi Gost, to help him protect his title of Grandmaster, basically to help guarantee a winning wager on a contest he had gambled his title on with her uncle Challenger, who sought to win the bet and usurp her father. He used to be the Grandmaster before. Anyways, it's a lot of history, so we'll skip that. In the end, her true identity was revealed by Jarvis. After being inspired by the Avengers' true heroics, she decided to switch sides, defecting and seeking to help them and Earth instead. In the end, they offered Voyager a membership. Though she declined, she did agree to return to reclaim her membership at a later time. And in the series Avengers No Road Home, she is acknowledged as an Avenger on the character intro page.
Number 10. Miles Morales. Now in the comments, plenty of you were aghast at the fact that Ultimate Universe darling Miles Morales wasn't on part 1. But the thing is, for many people, Miles feels like he's been around forever, since he was so accepted in the universe. He quickly spread to many stories within it, and then eventually beyond it, and is now a staple of the 616 universe as well. But Miles Morales is very recent in comic terms. He first debuted in Ultimate Fallout number 4 in 2011, which actually makes him less than a decade old at the time of this recording. But his compelling backstory and respectful ascendance to mantle of Spider-Man quickly made him a fan favorite. And he has surged into the popular consciousness with outings such as Into the Spider-Verse. Miles is just such a fleshed out, genuine character with a love for his mantle, and many find that infectious. He is representative, but in a very organic way that makes him relatable to all, but especially to an at times underrepresented group, which of course is always nice. Stories for all. Number 9. Teen Lantern. Teen Lantern is Kelly Quintella, who first appeared in Young Justice Volume 3, number 1 in 2019. This is continuing the trend of Earth having way too many Green Lanterns. Now the Teen Lantern is a precocious character who has a very mild may vary impact as a result. She is a super genius who sees an alien get attacked at a junkyard while she is there looking for scraps for her inventions. She goes back and talks to the alien, a la Hal Jordan, and she gets a device that allows her to hack into the Owen Central Power Battery, the Green Lantern Power Battery, which she uses to get her own Green Lantern ring. She then sets off to Metropolis to become a hero, the Teen Lantern. She would end up becoming a member of Young Justice. Now some love this, they're like the ultimate fantasy and so empowering, and others are like lazy and fanficky and too many lanterns. She only came out in 2019, so we shall see how the Teen Lantern fares, especially with DC threatening reboots on the horizon. Number 8. Silk. Silk emerged out of the original Sin story arc, which featured secrets never before known to the Marvel Universe coming to light. She first appeared as a cameo in The Amazing Spider-Man number 1 in 2014, and she made her full appearance in issue 4. So the story? She was bitten by the same radioactive spider that bit Peter, but only a few minutes later, and then she was hidden away in a bunker for years, which is why no one had ever heard of her or seen her. Also, her and Peter have pheromones that combine so that they can't keep their hands off of each other, literally. Silk proved decently popular and got her own solo series and has stuck around on teams and events since. Number 7. Riri Williams. Riri Williams is Ironheart, and she had a cameo appearance in Invincible Iron Man number 7 back in 2016, and then made her debut in issue 9. So Riri built her own Iron Man suit, using materials stolen from her campus. She would prove polarizing, largely because of the state of comics at the time she was introduced, and some very aggressive, abrasive writing at the start of her run that would regularly see her insulting her compatriots and threatening foes and civilians alike. However, some were convinced any who did not like her must be racist, as she wasn't aggressive in their eyes, but assertive and different and interesting. This created a cloud of controversy around the character that some simply wanted to shy away from. Some new writers later, Riri has become much more fleshed out and relatable, and we've even gotten more interpersonal interactions with her teammates. Riri hasn't appeared quite as much of late, but Marvel is pushing its legacy characters, so it's likely she shall resurface very soon. Number 6. The Shazam family. Now you may be saying, Shazam has a family, what are you talking about? Yes, Billy and Mary were always there, but the extended family of foster kids who so delighted fans in the Shazam movie are a recent addition. These characters were introduced in the Flashpoint miniseries, which led into the New 52 all the way back in 2011 through 2012. This was the start of a temporarily more edgy personality for Billy, and a whole new cast of superpowered cronies. The Shazam family would prove endearing to fans who loved the idea of these kids making it on their own, and it made it feel a bit like a club. And of course, more kids in adult or teen bodies led to some pretty fun shenanigans. Number 5. Simon Baz. Simon Baz is yet another Green Lantern who was also created as a result of the New 52, which, while maligned, did have some solid characters come out of it. He first appeared in the New 52 Free Comic Book Day Special Edition number 1 back in 2012. Baz was notable not just for having the same name as a Rainbow Rowell character, but for being Muslim American, which featured largely in his plot. His creation was pointed, but at the same time he had depth and flaws and embraced being a hero and his newfound ability to heal. He would struggle with things like relying on his ring and other heroes. For example, he carried a gun for a while at the start of his tenure as the Green Lantern, which put him in direct conflict with Batman for obvious reasons. And his wrongful terrorist conviction would make some wary of him at first. But Baz was also a man who cared about his family and community, and a character that has managed to stand out in a sea of lanterns. More love for Simon Baz. Number 4. Viv Vision. Vivian Vision, aka Viv, is the daughter of Vision and his robot wife, first introduced in Tom King's excellent maxi series The Visions. She debuted in 2016. This series would deal with sentience and the question of what it meant to be aware. Viv would prove to be the character who spun off from that series and would join the team The Champions. This was an entire team of younger heroes. She would also develop romantic feelings for Ironheart, and the two would end up sharing a kiss. Viv, however, is one of those cases where not all writers are sure what to do with her. This is how she ended up being rendered human by the High Evolutionary for a bit, and then ended up having her consciousness transplanted back into another Viv robot body. She's a character who, all things being equal, would potentially go the way of Jade, but we shall see what the future holds. Number 3. KALDUR-AHM, the Aqualad introduced in Young Justice the animated series. This character took the world by storm. Kaldur is an excellent example of an introduction of a character. He was woven into the backstory without erasing Garth, the first Aqualad, or making him less important, and he was presented with his own insecurities, and as the core of the team, a natural leader and calming presence. He quickly became a favorite amongst many fans. This series in general would be praised for its mature tone, and Kaldur would have a compelling connection to a classic villain. A connection that actually played off pretty well and not kitschy. Kaldur would later also be used for genderqueer representation in Season 3. Mileage varies on Season 3 in general, but that is normal for a series that has a long hiatus. The writing is rarely ever exactly the same. Number 2. Jessica Cruz. More Green Lanterns everywhere. She appeared near the end of the New 52 with her first full appearance in Justice League number 31. She had had 2 cameo appearances prior to that. She was a woman who had a ring forced upon her essentially, and has many demons to overcome. She was not what some would consider the most likely candidate for a ring, because she suffers from crippling anxiety and agoraphobia. This was triggered by witnessing the death of her friends at the hands of mobsters. She struggles with feelings of a lack of self-worth, and as such it took her a while to hit her stride, both with the ring and her partner Simon Baz. But the two would become fast friends, and she would eventually master her ring. Jessica would come into her own, finding her anxieties more manageable, most of the time. She is definitely unique and a good addition to the core. More Jessica, just less of her kissing Bruce randomly. And in at number 1, AMULET. AMULET Amulet gets to be number 1 because he's the newest at the time of this recording. He's a character that is so new, he hasn't even debuted yet. He's set to debut in March of 2020, so he's only been shown as concept art and in solicitations. He'll be joining Miss Marvel's book, and he is an Arab-born American from Dearborn, Michigan. I'm not highlighting that, Marvel is. It's the first thing they point out, along with a description about how his costume doesn't have pointy edges because pointy edges make people think about villainy. He is said to be a gentle giant, and it's also said that most of the details of his past are being kept as a surprise. So welcome Amulet to the Marvel Universe. Hopefully he'll be awesome, because that's what I hope for from all new characters, for new exciting stories.
Starting us off in at number 10, White Eagle. White Eagle is a Polish superhero created in 2011, a man by the name of Alex Poniatowski. Rich, handsome, and smart, Alex was the president of the country's largest corporation, Tech Corp, and had a prospering family to boot. Then he fell out of his corporation's office building and fell into a coma for 3 years, having no memory of the accident when he awoke. Escaping the clutches of death, he takes a special serum meant to cure him of his paralysis, which then gives him superpowers. Moving on to number 9, Captain China from 2012. Captain China is a superhero published by the Chinese publisher Excel Comics, a digital webcomic that stars a fellow who became a hero after he awoke from 50 years of cryogenic sleep. He is a long dormant champion brought out of cryogenic sleep to be a symbol and protector for his homeland. It's also worth noting that he's often referred to as the world's greatest communist superhero, so take what you will from that. Captain China was the result of a campaign called Great Leap Forward, in which the Chinese government strove to create superhuman soldiers, but thanks to that project, near-fatal side effects ensued, causing the government to have to place him in cryogenic storage in order to prevent his death. At the dawn of a new age of China, a solution was found, and he was brought out of sleep, although he awoke in a very different world than the one that he remembered. Moving on to number 8, All Might from 2014. All Might is from My Hero Academia, and is considered to be the world's #1 hero, or at least that world's #1 hero. He's positive, fun, and full of energy, and he fits into the quintessential superhero mold. All Might is self-sacrificing and understands and fights for justice because he genuinely wants to, not because of some past angsty trauma that spawned him to. I don't want to say angsty actually, not because of some past trauma that spawned him to. Despite being a little corny, it is easy to see why All Might is so lovable beyond just being a strong superhero. Plus, he is basically a father figure for the protagonist in My Hero Academia, which speaks volumes. Moving on to number 7, Kamala Khan. Kamala Khan is Miss Marvel, who was introduced in 2014, and arguably is one of the best new superheroes of the decade. Debuting in Captain Marvel issue 14 in 2013, she would go on to star in her own solo series in 2014, which would win the Hugo Award for Best Graphic Story in 2015. Now compared to her namesake, this Miss Marvel got her powers in a very different way. She is a Pakistani American from Jersey City who gained shape-shifting abilities after the Inhumanity storyline in the Marvel Universe caused her latent abilities to awaken. Her story was one of empathy, identity, and finding power within yourself. This resonated hard with audiences and made Kamala become a mainstream superhero name much faster than anyone expected. Plus, she's so damn endearing. It's hard not to like her. She's even getting her own show on Disney+, so that's pretty dope. Moving on to number 6, Spider-Gwen. Spider-Gwen is another character who found popularity fast. She first appeared in Edge of Spider-Verse issue 2 in 2014 as a variant of Spider-Man from the alternate universe of Earth 65. In her story, she's Gwen Stacy, bitten by a radioactive spider and becoming a superhero instead of Peter Parker. Many aspects of her personality mimic Peter's though, along with his ideologies and internal conflicts. After being hailed for her costume design and becoming a majorly cosplayed character, she was later expanded upon in the Marvel Universe, finding herself in her own ongoing series, even getting romantically tangled up with the 1610 Spider-Man Miles Morales. Now, she lives on Earth 616, operating under the mantle of Ghost Spider. Up next, number 5, Jonathan Kent. Jonathan Samuel Kent, who first appeared in 2015, or rather just John Kent, is Superboy, the Man of Steel's latest iteration of a son. There's a whole lot of continuity to go through in order to explain how exactly John Kent came to be, so let's just kinda skip over that for now. Just know that he's half Kryptonian, his mother's Lois Lane, and he's been in the main continuity long enough to warrant that he's here for good. And best thing yet, he has become best buds with Batman's son Damian Wayne, the current Robin. Their dynamic has made for some of the best lighter moments in recent years in DC's panels. Up next, number 4, Gwenpool. Gwenpool first appeared in Deadpool's Secret Wars issue 2 in 2015 as an amalgam of Gwen Stacy and Deadpool on a variant cover of the comic. Now that spawned a huge fan following, which then led to her fully appearing in Marvel's panels in Howard the Duck issue 1 a few months later. Now fun fact, Gwenpool has literally no association to Deadpool, minus that publication history we just mentioned, and the fact that in her own storyline, when she got her suit tailored, The tailor just believed that she was, trying to be like Deadpool. It's because he misread her name. Her full name is Gwendolyn Poole, spelled P-O-O-L-E. Now she claims to have entered the Marvel Universe from the real world. And unwilling to be an extra in this world, she became a superhero. She doesn't really have any superpowers beyond her self-reflexivity, although her baseline abilities when it comes to using extreme weaponry and being a brilliant tactician are not to be forgotten. She is clearly capable of interdimensional travel though, and has a vast knowledge of the Marvel Universe, coming from a world in which she saw the events of the Marvel Universe play out in comic books. Up next, number 3, we have Naomi. Naomi is a DC character who debuted in 2019 under the creative team of Brian Michael Bendis, David Walker, and Jamal Campbell. Naomi McDuffie is a character capable of energy manipulation, energy enhanced strikes, flight. She's invulnerable, is capable of light projection, and has super strength. She is the sole survivor of an alternate world, one that had endured a crisis in which Earth's natural protective layer collapsed due to environmental neglect. Now the world is bathed in radiation. In the aftermath of this, 29 individuals gained godlike powers due to the crisis, and you bet your butt that Naomi was one of them. Her Earth found itself in a constant conflict between these superpowered individuals, and a mass murder ended up conquering half the globe. In other words, it was not a fun place to be. So Naomi was sent to Earth Zero as a baby, and was raised by both an alien and a human from Earth. She wouldn't find out the truth behind her past until she was an adolescent. Up next, number 2, Star aka Ripley Ryan. In July of 2019, we were introduced to a brand new superhero in Captain Marvel issue 8. She is Star, a character whose powers rival Carol Danvers. She flies, she has super strength, and has a costume that kinda looks like Carol's too. She appeared in the aftermath of the pretty bad fallout of Carol's, in which the hero's Kree heritage was revealed to the people of Earth, causing her military rank to be stripped. This all happened because of Minerva, a Kree scientist soldier who leaked this information after Carol pissed her off. Minerva also created Star, a Kree super soldier built from a mixture of Kree DNA and human DNA. She is powerful as hell, but not because Minerva succeeded in genetically mixing together that DNA. It's because she built tech to siphon Carol's powers to Star. That's why they're so similar. There's a lot that we don't know about Ripley yet, but now she's set to be the star of her own limited comic book series starting in January of 2020. And finally, in our number 1 spot, Green Lantern Joe Mullein. Recently, DC released a new title called Far Sector, in which a brand new member of the Green Lantern Corps was introduced to readers. This Green Lantern is Jo, a rookie protagonist who operates out in deep space. She is in a sector that is off the books. The series follows her investigating a murder in a location where a homicide hasn't occurred in over 5 centuries, taking place in a city devoid of emotion in order to prevent crimes. And Jo is really cool, might I add. Problem is, the other Green Lanterns don't even know she exists yet, which makes her story perhaps even more compelling, especially concerning that her mission and her identity itself is a secret. We're excited to see where this character goes in the future.